The body cam footage lasts 47 seconds. Night vision turns everything green and grainy. 12 operators advance through a warehouse marked for demolition. Standard formation. Military precision. Weapons raised. Breathing controlled through comms. Second 16. Motion detected. Commands issued. Safeties disengaged. Second 23. The cameras shake. Someone screams, but the audio cuts. Second 31. Static. Fragments of image. A silhouette that moves wrong. Too fast, too efficient. Biological machinery operating beyond human parameters. Second 47. Blackness. The Pentagon classified the file within an hour, buried it 3 encryption layers deep, attached a designation instead of a name, because names made things real, made them accountable, made them something that required explanation when senators asked questions and journalists filed requests. The Ogre. 23 documented incidents over 12 years. Entire tactical units erased. Military installations compromised. Black sites breached. The pattern stayed consistent. No survivors, no witnesses, no evidence beyond devastation and the occasional camera that captured shadows before failing. Analysis teams studied what little footage existed, frame by frame, pixel by pixel, searching for weaknesses, finding none. Just capability expressed through violence. A biological system that made conventional countermeasures irrelevant. The final assessment contained 3 words before classified recommendations. Do not engage, so they didn't. The U.S. military made one decision that stuck. Never provoke, never pursue, never acknowledge. Lock the file and pretend the ogre was a ghost that haunted servers, but not reality. The file remained untouched for 8 years. Then Vought International started drowning. The leak happened on a Tuesday. Someone inside the company cracked, downloaded everything, sent it everywhere. By Wednesday morning, the world knew. Compound V, the serum that made superheroes. Not gods, not evolution, products, manufactured in labs and injected into infants before they could consent. Public reaction moved faster than damage control. Protests erupted in 15 cities. Stock prices collapsed. Cable news ran panels with scientists explaining enhancement pharmacology. Social media turned superhero worship into skepticism overnight. The Seven smiled for cameras and denied everything. Lawyers drafted statements. PR teams worked triple shifts. But everyone inside Vought Tower felt the hull cracking. Water pouring through gaps they couldn't plug fast enough. Stan Edgar sat in his office 60 floors above street level and watched his empire fracture. 20 years building the superhero industry into the most profitable venture in American history. Gone in 72 hours because one person told the truth. He made calls, activated resources, deployed every tool that money and power provided. Some worked, most didn't. The narrative had shifted. Soups were fake. Science not divine providence. The magic was gone. But Edgar hadn't built an empire by accepting defeat. He'd built it by understanding markets, understanding what people wanted versus what they needed. They wanted gods. He'd given them products and called them gods. Now the products were exposed. Solution: find actual gods. He authorized a research team with unlimited budget and one directive. Find enhanced individuals whose power predated Compound 5. Prove enhancement was natural, evolutionary. Make soups into the next step of humanity instead of corporate experiments. The team found 18 possibilities worldwide. 17 were documented, studied, contained within frameworks that governments and organizations understood. People with abilities who operated within systems or could be negotiated with. The 18th was different. They found the Ogre file by accident, cross-referencing military black sites with anomalous capability reports. The Pentagon's encryption was excellent, but money bought access, especially when the entire company's survival depended on it. The research director brought the file to Edgar personally, set the tablet on his desk without speaking. Edgar read for 11 minutes, didn't ask questions, didn't express doubt, just absorbed information the way sharks process blood in water. Location? Edgar finally asked. Unknown. The file contains incidents but no tracking. He appears, acts, vanishes. Pattern suggests deliberate avoidance of surveillance. Motivation? Unclear. Analysis indicates responses to perceived threats or challenges, not ideological, not mercenary, possibly territorial. Edgar leaned back, studied ceiling tiles while processing. The company needed a narrative shift, needed proof that enhancement was natural. This file suggested someone who existed entirely outside Vaught's framework. No serum, no lab, just raw capability that made military forces irrelevant. Make contact, Edgar said. Sir, the Pentagon assessment explicitly recommends. I read the assessment. Edgar's tone didn't change. Still calm, still measured. I also read the footage analysis. This individual responds to challenges, to perceived competition. We have the most famous enhanced individuals on Earth. Use them. The research director understood immediately. You want to bait him? I want to offer him what someone like that values. Opposition. Combat. The chance to test himself against opponents marketed as the strongest alive. If he accepts, then we prove enhancement exists naturally. We shift the narrative. We give people a new story. Edgar stood, walked to the window, looked down at streets where protesters still gathered. And if he destroys the 7 in the process, we'll have footage worth more than anything we've lost. The operation took 6 days. They didn't send executives in suits, didn't make formal offers. They sent rumors instead. Information that traveled through underground channels. Whispers in places where people discussed power without pretense. The 7. America's finest. Homelander. The strongest man alive and undefeated. Untouchable. Apex predator standing at the summit of human achievement. Videos of impossible feats. Stopping planes, crushing steel, burning through concrete with vision alone. The message was simple. This is what the world calls strongest. The response came faster than expected. 6 days after the information dispersed, Yujiro Hanma walked into Vought Tower through the front entrance. No appointment, no warning. Security tried to stop him. Tried once. The guards stepped aside. Instinct overrode training. Every animal sense they possessed screamed the same message. Apex, predator, move. Yujiro took the elevator to the executive floor, walked past assistants and coordinators like furniture, entered Edgar's office without knocking. Edgar didn't stand, didn't react. He'd spent decades negotiating with people who thought power made them untouchable. But looking at Yujiro, he understood immediately. This wasn't a person you negotiated with. This was a force you directed. Carefully. Mr. Hanma, Edgar said. Thank you for coming. Yujiro stopped in the center of the office, looked around once, then fixed his attention on Edgar with focus that made the room feel smaller. You sent out bait. Information. About individuals with exceptional capabilities. You think I came here for conversation? No. Edgar pulled up footage on his monitor, turned it so Yujiro could see. Homelander lifting a truck, flying through clouds, standing above cities like a monument. I think you came here because you smelled competition. Yujiro watched the footage for 30 seconds. His expression didn't change. But something shifted, the same way a wolf's attention sharpens when it catches scent of another predator in its territory. You want me to fight him, Yujiro said. Statement, not question. I want to prove that enhanced individuals exist naturally. That Compound 5 isn't the only path to power. You would demonstrate that. Publicly. You want a show. I want verification. Edgar stood, walked to the window. The public lost faith in superheroes because they learned the truth. Now they need a new truth. Something they can believe in. And if I destroy your products, then we'll have footage of something more valuable than products. We'll have proof that power exists beyond our control, beyond our creation. Edgar turned back, which makes it real again. Yujiro was quiet for 10 seconds, processing, evaluating. Then his mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile, more like recognition of prey worth hunting. One condition, he said. Name it. I fight whoever you put in front of me. No teams, no interference, no stopping until I decide I'm finished. Edgar nodded once. We call it the gauntlet. Call it whatever you want. Yujiro walked toward the door, stopped, looked back. Make sure they understand. This isn't a show. The door closed. Edgar stood alone in his office watching the city through glass 60 floors up. His phone buzzed. Ashley, head of Hero Management, panicking about unauthorized access to the executive floor. He ignored it. Pulled up financial projections instead. Calculated risk versus reward. The company was dying. The 7 were losing value daily. Public trust was gone. But footage of something real-breaking manufactured heroes. Proof that power existed outside corporate control. That was a narrative people would pay to see, would believe, would make Vought relevant again, even if it destroyed everything they'd built. Stan Edgar smiled. It was a calculated expression, the kind businessmen use when they've found the winning move in a losing game. The kind that meant someone was about to pay a price they didn't know they'd agreed to. He called Ashley. Schedule an event. Vought Arena. 70,000 seats. Pay-per-view global broadcast. Market it as proof, as validation, as the night we show the world what real power looks like. Sir, what exactly are we? The gauntlet, Edgar said. 1 challenger. 7 legends. Winner takes everything. He hung up before she could ask what everything meant. Outside, 70 floors below, the protests continued. People demanding truth, demanding accountability, demanding explanations for why their heroes were lies. Vought was about to give them truth. Just not the kind they expected. The footage cuts to black before anyone sees the body hit the ground. Vought had buried it deep. Military files encrypted 3 layers down, classified under operations that officially never happened. The kind of records that vanish when senators ask questions. No names, no dates. Just a designation burned into Pentagon servers like a scar. The Ogre. 23 confirmed incidents. Entire squads erased. No survivors meant no witnesses, which meant no one had to explain why conventional weapons failed. Why tactical units trained for superhuman threats went silent within minutes. why areas were cordoned off and stories changed. The U.S. government made one decision about the ogre that stuck. Never engage, never provoke, never acknowledge. Vought found the file when they were drowning. Compound 5 had leaked. The public knew. Soups were products, not gods. Stock prices crashed. Protests erupted. The Seven smiled for cameras while lawyers drafted damage control. But everyone inside Vought Tower felt the hull cracking. They needed a new story. Not gods from serums. Gods who simply were. Stan Edgar authorized the search himself. Find someone with power that predated Compound 5. Someone who proved enhancement was evolution, not injection. The research team found 18 possibilities worldwide. 17 were manageable. The 18th was Yujiro Hanma. The file contained 3 things: satellite imagery of destroyed infrastructure, a single grainy photograph of a man walking away from carnage, and a psychological profile written by someone who quit the military 3 days after submitting it. Subject does not respond to authority. Subject does not negotiate. Subject views strength as the only currency. Do not attempt contact unless prepared for total loss. Vought made contact anyway. They didn't send executives. They sent rumors, whispers that reached the right ears in the underground. Information about Homelander. Footage of him stopping a plane with his bare hands, taking bullets to the chest, burning through steel with his eyes. The strongest man in America. Maybe the world? The message was simple. Undefeated. Untouchable. Apex. Yujiro showed up 6 days later. Not for money. Vought offered 8 figures, and he didn't blink. Not for fame. They promised coverage that would make him immortal, and he stared past them. He showed up because somewhere in that footage, in those clips of Homelander, hovering above cities and crushing opposition, he smelled prey. The negotiation lasted 4 minutes. "One condition," Yujiro said. His voice had the texture of gravel sliding over bone. "I fight whoever you put in front of me. No teams, no interference, no stopping until I'm satisfied." The Vought executive smiled like a man holding aces. "We call it the gauntlet. Call it whatever you want." The executive didn't hear the end of the sentence coming. "Make sure they understand this isn't a show." But Vought only heard opportunity. They built the event in 11 days. Vought Arena was a cathedral to corporate might. 70,000 seats wrapped around a stage that could survive missile strikes. Screens the size of buildings. Lighting rigs worth more than small towns. Everything designed to make heroes look like titans and titans look like gods. The marketing team coined the tagline in one meeting. Strongest on Earth, Gauntlet Night, 1 challenger, 7 legends. By the time doors opened, the pay-per-view had shattered records. 100 million viewers, every screen in every sports bar, trending across continents. People wanted proof their heroes were real. Vought gave them a spectacle. The arena lights cut through smoke like knives. Music pounded bass through concrete. Pyrotechnics painted the ceiling gold. The crowd roared without knowing what they were celebrating yet. This was American entertainment at its purest. Violence as commodity, power as product. Above the main floor in VIP boxes lined with bulletproof glass, executives watched monitors and adjusted strategies. Homelander stood at the center window, arms crossed, cape settling behind him like royal fabric. He wasn't looking at the stage. He was looking at his own reflection. "This is beneath me," he said. Ashley Vaught's head of hero management adjusted her tablet with shaking hands. It's good optics. The people need to see you're still what? His voice went soft, dangerous. Still their hero, still the strongest I never stopped being, either. Of course not. I just meant, I know what you meant. He smiled at his reflection. Perfect teeth, perfect jaw. The face America wanted on posters. But fine, let them have their show. I'll remind everyone what real power looks like. Down in the tunnel beneath the arena, Yujiro walked past security without acknowledgement. They stepped aside. Instinct told them to. He wore simple dark pants, no shirt. Muscle moved under skin like machinery designed before engineers knew the term efficiency. He didn't stretch, didn't warm up, didn't check the space or test his footing. He simply walked to the entrance and stopped. A Vought coordinator with a headset approached, keeping distance like someone feeding a wolf. Mr. Hanma, we're starting with an exhibition match. One of our hero roster will send him out. It's just for the audience to... I said send him out. The coordinator backed away. Signals went up the chain. Somewhere in production, someone made a decision. The lights shifted. A voice boomed through speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you will witness power beyond comprehension. You will see legends tested. You will watch as the strongest alive prove why they are heroes. The crowd detonated into noise. Introducing first from the Vought Hero program, standing 6'2", possessing superhuman durability and strength. The unbreakable wall. Titan. The hero emerged through smoke and flame. Costume bright red with silver accents, arms spread wide, smile polished for cameras that caught every angle. The crowd loved him. He waved. He pointed. He fed on their approval. Then he saw Yujiro. The cameras caught it. The way Titan's smile held for the screens, but his eyes changed. Something primal recognizing threat. He recovered fast, rolling his shoulders, slapping his chest, selling confidence. And his opponent. The announcer paused, reading from cards that changed twice during production. The challenger, Yujiro Hanma. Yujiro walked into the light without ceremony. No music, no pyrotechnics. Just footsteps that somehow carried over 70,000 voices. The crowd went quiet in sections, the silence spreading like cold water. He stopped at the center, looked at Titan, then past him up toward the VIP boxes. Homelander felt it. That gaze, like fingers pressing on glass. He leaned forward slightly. Who the hell is that? Ashley pulled up files on her screen. According to records, we don't have much. Military black site mentions. He's listed as, I don't care what he's listed as. Homelander's eyes narrowed. I want to know why he's looking at me. In the arena, Titan made the first move. Standard superhero opening. Close distance fast. Established dominance. He launched forward with speed that made cameras blur. Yujiro turned his head. Not his body, just his head. Titan threw a punch designed to shatter concrete. Enhanced muscle behind enhanced bone. The kind of hit that sent normal humans into trauma surgery. Yujiro moved 3 inches to the left. The fist passed through empty air where his face had been. He stepped inside Titan's guard, placed one hand on the hero's shoulder, and applied pressure. Not a strike. Pressure. Titan's knee buckled. The joint went wrong. Ligaments stressed past design. He gasped and tried to twist away, but Yujiro's grip remained exactly where it was. Constant. Inevitable. You're pulling your punches, Yujiro said, voice flat. Disinterested. Don't! Titan roared and swung wild. Yujiro caught the arm, adjusted the angle by degrees, and Titan's own momentum drove him face first into the floor. The impact cracked the reinforced surface. The crowd made a sound between shock and excitement. Titan pushed himself up, blood running from his nose. The cameras caught every drop. He charged again, this time with desperation instead of showmanship. Yujiro waited until the last possible moment, rotated his torso. Titan flew past him and hit the arena wall hard enough to embed 3 inches deep. He slid down and didn't get up. The fight lasted 18 seconds. Silence held the arena for a breath. Then chaos. Shouting, cheering, confusion. Half the crowd thought it was staged. The other half recognized violence when they saw it. Yujiro looked up at the VIP box again. Homelander stared back. Their eyes met across distance and glass and the gap between manufactured power and raw biology. Yujiro's mouth curved. Not quite a smile, more like recognition. Ashley's tablet showed ratings spiking past projections. The numbers are insane. We're hitting records. Homelander didn't respond. He watched Yujiro stand in the center of the ruined stage, arms loose, breathing unchanged, looking up like a predator that just found better prey. "Tell them," Homelander said quietly, "to start the gauntlet now. But the scheduled now." The screens flared with graphics. Bold text. "Gauntlet night begins." One by one faces appeared on the displays. A-Train, The Deep, Starlight, Queen Maeve. The people knew these faces, loved them, bought merchandise with their logos. And at the top, larger than the rest, Homelander. The crowd screamed themselves hoarse. Down in the arena, Yujiro rolled his shoulders once. The motion was mechanical, efficient. He looked at the screens, at the faces, at the lineup of gods that Vought had built from serums and marketing. He looked bored. "Next," he said. No one heard him over the noise, but everyone felt it. That shift in the air, the moment before thunder. When pressure builds and something fundamental changes. Vought wanted a show to save their brand. They got a confession. And somewhere in the building, in places where concrete met steel, the foundation began to crack. The screens went dark for 3 seconds. When they reignited, A-Train's face filled every display. Blue and silver suit, lightning bolt emblems, the fastest man alive according to marketing materials that sold energy drinks and sports cars. He appeared on stage in a blur, literally. One moment empty space, the next, he stood opposite Yujiro, vibrating in place, like a tuning fork. The crowd erupted. They knew this hero. Loved him. Bought his merchandise. A-Train grinned at the cameras. All teeth, all confidence. "This'll be over quick." Yujiro said nothing. His stance didn't change. Weight distributed evenly, arms loose, breathing steady, A-Train vanished. The speedster circled the arena in milliseconds. Air displacement cracked like thunder. Dust spiraled upward. Cameras struggled to track the movement, catching only streaks of blue light. Yujiro's head turned, following something the cameras couldn't see. His eyes tracked motion that happened faster than human perception should allow. A-Train threw the first punch at 300 miles per hour. Aimed for the back of Yujiro's skull. The kind of impact that turned bones to powder. Yujiro stepped sideways. Not fast, just precisely. The fist missed by an inch. A-Train stumbled, momentum carrying him past his target. He recovered instantly, spinning into another charge. This time from a different angle. Low sweep meant to shatter knees. Yujiro lifted his foot 6 inches. The kick passed underneath. A-Train's balance broke for a fraction of a second as he overextended. That fraction was enough. Yujiro's hand shot out and closed around A-Train's wrist mid-motion. The speedster's velocity meant nothing against that grip. He jerked to a complete stop like hitting a wall. Physics caught up violently. His shoulder joint screamed. "Speed without precision is just flailing," Yujiro said. He twisted A-Train's arm, forcing the speedster into an awkward rotation. A-Train tried to vibrate free molecules oscillating to phase through solid matter. The technique had worked against restraints before. Yujiro tightened his grip. The pressure stayed constant, regardless of molecular state. A-Train's eyes went wide. Yujiro pulled downward. Not a throw, a redirect. A-Train's own speed and Yujiro's leverage combined into an equation that ended with the speedster's face meeting the arena floor at velocity. The impact crater spread 15 feet. A-Train twitched once. Didn't get up. The fight lasted 31 seconds. The crowd made confused noise. Half hadn't seen what happened. The other half didn't believe it. This was A-Train. He'd saved a plane, outrun explosions. How does someone catch speed itself? But the cameras didn't lie. The replay showed it frame by frame. Yujiro tracking impossible movement, predicting trajectory, waiting for the precise instant when momentum became liability. In the control room, Ashley stared at monitors with her mouth open. Our social media is imploding. The executive beside her pulled up analytics. Viewership climbing, engagement through the roof, people sharing clips, arguing in comment sections. Exactly what Vought needed. Keep it going. But A-Train is making us money lying there. Send in the next one. The Deep emerged through stage fog, looking exactly like what he was. A man in an aquatic-themed costume who belonged in water, not spotlight. His armor gleamed green and gold, trident held like a prop. He waved to scattered applause. He'd lobbied for months to get back into the Seven's good graces after scandals that PR couldn't quite bury. This was his redemption arc, his chance to prove he belonged among legends. He looked at Yujiro, and his confidence evaporated. "Listen, man," the deep-started voice cracking slightly. "We don't have to do this. I can just—" Yujiro walked forward. 3 steps. The Deep raised his trident defensively, muscle memory from training that never prepared him for actual predators. Yujiro grabbed the weapon's shaft with one hand. The Deep pulled with enhanced strength. The trident didn't move. Yujiro pulled back and the Deep came with it, boots scraping the floor. "Please, I have..." Yujiro ripped the trident away and tossed it aside. The clatter echoed. Then he placed one hand on the Deep's shoulder and pushed. Not a strike, just a push. The Deep stumbled backward 3 steps and fell over his own feet. He landed hard on his back costume, cracking against the floor, stared up at the lights. Yujiro looked down at him. "You're not even trying." The Deep didn't get up. Couldn't. Fear locked his limbs. The cameras caught everything. His chest heaving, eyes watering. The hero whose movie had broken box office records, reduced to a man in a costume lying on the stage, while 70,000 people watched. Yujiro turned away before the Deep could respond. Dismissal more brutal than violence. 10 seconds total. The crowd didn't know how to react. This wasn't a fight. It was execution by indifference. The Deep scrambled to his feet and fled the stage. No one stopped him. Medical teams didn't rush out. He wasn't hurt, just broken. Viewership spiked again. Social media erupted in memes within minutes. The Deep had always been a joke to internet culture, Now it was official. Ashley's hands shook as she pulled up the next hero. "Starlight is ready. Tell her to make it look good," the executive said. "We need this." Starlight walked onto stage through pyrotechnics that painted her golden. The suit glowed. Literally. Light emanated from the fabric from her skin, casting her as something between angel and star. America's sweetheart. The hero mothers wanted their daughters to emulate. She'd joined the seven believing in something. Justice. Truth. Heroism. The belief had eroded over time, rubbed away by corporate mandates and moral compromise. But she still tried, still fought, still showed up when called. She looked at Yujiro and saw something completely outside her framework. Not a villain with motivations she could understand. Not a threat she'd trained to handle. Just raw capability standing across from her in the form of a man who looked bored. "I won't make this easy," she said. Voice steady, hands already glowing with stored energy. "Good," Yujiro replied. Starlight fired first. Light burst from her palms in concentrated beams. The energy had melted steel before, burned through reinforced walls. She didn't aim to kill, just to hurt enough to end this quickly. Yujiro moved left. The beams scorched the air where he'd been standing. She redirected, tracking his movement. He dropped into a crouch as another blast passed overhead. The pattern repeated. Starlight firing. Yujiro shifting position by minimal distances. Never where she expected. Always one step ahead of her trajectory calculations. She changed tactics. Instead of precision shots, she released energy in a wide burst. Light exploded outward in all directions. The crowd shielded their eyes. Cameras overexposed briefly. When vision cleared, Yujiro stood behind a chunk of debris he'd positioned during the blast. The concrete had absorbed most of the energy. He stepped around it calmly. Starlight's breathing accelerated. She'd depleted a third of her stored charge. He hadn't touched her yet. She flew backward, gaining distance. Fired again. 3 rapid bursts. Yujiro rolled under the first side, stepped the second, and walked through the impact zone of the third before the beam finished dissipating. He covered ground faster than she could reset her aim. Her power required line of sight, required tracking, required the target to be where she calculated they'd be. Yujiro's movement destroyed calculations. He didn't run fast. He just moved efficiently. Every step with purpose. Every shift in position, eliminating her angles. She landed and switched to close combat. Enhanced strength met training that Vought had paid experts to provide. She threw combinations. Jabs, crosses, kicks. Technical. Clean. Yujiro blocked everything with minimal movement. Palm redirected a punch. Forearm absorbed a kick. He wasn't faster than her. He was reading her. Every shift in weight telegraphed her next move. Every breath pattern revealed her rhythm. He caught her wrist mid-punch. Stepped inside her guard. His other hand pressed against her solar plexus. Not a strike. Pressure. Starlight gasped. The energy she'd been storing went haywire. Light flickered across her skin, uncontrolled. Yujiro had disrupted something. Breathing, energy flow, something. "You telegraph everything," he said quietly. Only she could hear it. "Your power is external. No internal discipline." He released her and stepped back. She collapsed to one knee, chest heaving. Not injured, not defeated by damage. Just unable to continue because her body wouldn't cooperate. The crowd saw a hero kneeling, saw Yujiro walking away, saw another member of the seven unable to stand. 92 seconds. Ratings climbed higher. Comments flooded faster than moderators could handle. Half the internet argued about power scaling. The other half questioned everything they'd believed about soups. In the VIP box, Homelander stood perfectly still, his jaw tight, eyes locked on the arena. Ashley approached carefully. "Maeve is up next," she said. "Should we—" "No." His voice had gone flat. "Dangerous. Let her go. She's asking if there's a strategy. Tell her to fight." He finally looked at Ashley. The smile that cameras loved was completely gone. "Tell her that's an order." Queen Maeve entered without fanfare. No pyrotechnics, no music. Just boots on the floor and an armor that had seen actual combat. She'd been a hero before the Seven became a brand. Back when the job meant something beyond quarterly earnings. She looked at Yujiro and recognized a fighter. Not manufactured in labs, not designed by committees. Built through violence and survival. "You're not here to prove anything," she said. "Statement, not question." "No." "Then why?" "You're in my way." Maeve nodded. She understood that language. She drew her sword. Not the prop version for photo shoots, the actual weapon. Balanced, sharp, lethal. They moved simultaneously. Maeve struck high. Yujiro ducked under the blade. She reversed into a low slash. He stepped inside the arc, nullifying the cut. Her elbow came up slamming toward his jaw. He blocked with his forearm and the impact cracked through the arena. Real collision. Force meeting force. They separated. Circled. Maeve adjusted her stance, recognizing she'd found someone who understood combat beyond strength. Yujiro's expression changed slightly. Not quite a smile. Acknowledgement. She attacked again. Blade work combined with enhanced strength. Every cut calculated, every step measured. She'd trained for centuries of combined experience. Fought gods, survived Vought. Yujiro wove through the attacks, sometimes by inches, sometimes by breathing room. His hands moved in controlled strikes when openings appeared. Palm to her shoulder, fist to her ribs, none of them finishing blows. Testing, measuring. Maeve realized he was learning her. Each exchange provided information. He adjusted timing, predicted combinations, started countering attacks before she fully committed to them. She roared and committed everything to a heavy overhead slash, the kind that split cars. Yujiro caught her wrist with both hands, stopped the blade 6 inches from his head. Their eyes met. She strained with superhuman strength. He held position without visible effort. Then he twisted. Her grip failed. The sword clattered away. He swept her legs and she went down hard. Before she could recover, his hand pressed against her throat. Not choking, pinning. "You're the first one who actually knows how to fight," Yujiro said. "But you're tired. Been tired for years." Maeve stared up at him, saw truth in the observation, saw her reflection in someone who'd never compromised, never softened, never accepted chains. "I could keep going," she said. "I know." He released her and stood, extended a hand. She took it, let him pull her up. Their eyes met again briefly. Understanding passed between people who spoke the same language. Maeve walked off stage with her head high. Not defeated, retired. The crowd didn't understand the difference. Didn't matter. 4 minutes, 18 seconds. The control room descended into chaos. Ashley fielded calls from executives, board members, investors. Everyone wanted explanations. Everyone had demands. "Ratings are the highest in company history," someone shouted from the analytics desk. "We're trending in 23 countries," another voice called. "Stock price is climbing." The executive in charge of the event pulled up financial projections. The numbers made decisions for him. Call Homelander. Tell him it's his turn. Ashley's hand shook as she picked up the phone. Sir, are you sure if Homelander... Homelander is the brand. If he doesn't go down there, none of this matters. The executive checked his watch. Besides, he's already on his way. In a hallway beneath the arena, Billy Butcher watched a monitor with his arms crossed. Behind him, Huey shifted nervously. This is mental, Huey said. Who the hell is this guy? Butcher's expression hadn't changed in 15 minutes. Just cold focus. Someone who hates soups as much as we do. Different reasons, same results. Should we do nothing? Butcher finally looked away from the screen. We watch. We learn. And when this is over, we figure out if he's a weapon we can point. Or a problem we can't handle. On stage, Yujiro stood alone. The arena floor was cracked, scorched, littered with debris. The crowd had gone quiet. Anticipation thick enough to taste. The screens flashed. Red, white, and blue. Stars and stripes. Then Homelander's face, larger than life, smiling with practiced perfection. The lights dimmed. A single spotlight cut through darkness. And Homelander descended from above, cape billowing arms crossed the picture of American godhood. He landed 30 feet from Yujiro. The impact cracked concrete. He straightened slowly, deliberately, held the pose for cameras that caught every angle. You've had your fun, Homelander said. His voice carried through speakers smooth and commanding. But this is where it ends. Yujiro looked up at him, silent, unmoved. Nothing to say. Homelander's smile widened. That's fine. You won't be conscious long enough to talk anyway. He rose 10 feet into the air, establishing vertical dominance, showing the crowd who controlled space. His eyes began to glow red. Yujiro's muscles shifted under skin. Something changed in his posture. Not fear, not excitement, just focus condensing into purpose. The crowd held its breath, and the real fight began. Homelander hovered 30 feet above the arena floor. Cape spread behind him like wings. Red, white, and blue suit pristine under spotlights designed to make him look divine. Every camera angle captured the image Vought had spent billions perfecting. God incarnate. America's protector. The strongest man alive. He looked down at Yujiro and smiled. The expression belonged on billboards, in commercials, selling merchandise to families who wanted to believe in heroes. You've made your point, Homelander said. Voice amplified through the arena's speakers. Smooth, commanding. The tone of someone who'd never been genuinely challenged. You're strong, fast, skilled. But you're still just a man. Yujiro didn't respond. Stood with his weight balanced, arms loose, watching. Homelander's eyes began to glow. Red light built behind the irises, heat vision charging. The crowd recognized the signature move. They'd seen it in movies, on posters, in video game cutscenes. The weapon that melted steel and carved through concrete. The beams lanced downward. Yujiro moved left. The heat carved trenches in the floor where he'd been standing. Homelander tracked the movement, sweeping the beams horizontally. Yujiro dropped into a roll. The energy passed overhead, scorching the air. Homelander stopped firing, calculated. This wasn't how these moments usually played. Targets didn't dodge. They burned. They died. They validated his power through destruction. He flew higher, gaining altitude, establishing three-dimensional advantage. From 40 feet up, he had angles. options, could attack from any direction while staying beyond reach. Smart tactics. Exactly what someone with flight and ranged attacks should do against a ground-based opponent. Homelander dove building speed. Fist extended like a missile. The kinetic energy of that much mass at that velocity could punch through armored vehicles. He aimed for Yujiro's center mass. Committed to the angle, Yujiro sidestepped at the last possible moment. Homelander's fist cratered the floor. The impact rang through the arena like artillery. Before Homelander could recover position, Yujiro's palm struck his shoulder. Not full force. Testing. The blow didn't penetrate invulnerability, but it shifted Homelander's weight, disrupted his recovery, made him work to regain altitude. Homelander shot upward, breathing slightly harder, not from exertion, from something else. Confusion. Opponents didn't touch him, didn't make him adjust, didn't treat him like a target that could be managed. He ripped a piece of debris from the arena floor, 20-pound chunk of reinforced concrete, hurled it with superhuman strength. The projectile moved faster than bullets. Yujiro's forearm came up, deflected the concrete at an angle that sent it spinning away. His arm should have shattered, should have broken. The cameras caught him lowering it smoothly undamaged. Homelander threw 3 more pieces. Yujiro moved through the barrage, not fast enough to blur, just precise enough to be where the projectiles weren't, reading trajectories, adjusting position, making superhuman attacks miss through timing alone. The crowd had gone quiet. This wasn't how Homelander fights ended. He overwhelmed. He dominated. He made opposition irrelevant through sheer force. But Yujiro wasn't being overwhelmed, wasn't running, wasn't begging, just standing there, calm, waiting. Homelander fired heat vision again, sustained bursts that should have carved Yujiro apart. Yujiro used debris for cover, let concrete absorb the energy, moved when the angle changed, always one step ahead of where the beams tracked. 30 seconds of aerial assault. Yujiro hadn't been hit once. Homelander landed. 20 feet from Yujiro. Breathing visible now. Chest rising and falling under the suit. His smile had vanished. The PR expression was gone. What replaced it was something raw. Anger beginning to surface. "You're fast," Homelander said. "But you can't hurt me. I'm invulnerable. You're just delaying the inevitable." Yujiro looked at him, silent, then turned toward the nearest camera. The movement was deliberate, calculated. He stared directly into the lens, into the eyes of 100 million viewers. "This is what you call strongest." Yujiro's voice carried through the arena. Not amplified by microphones, just natural projection that filled space. A man who needs height and distance because he's never fought anyone who could hit back. The words landed like physical blows. Homelander's jaw tightened. His hands clenched. "You're a product," Yujiro continued, still speaking to the camera, to the world. "Built in a lab, marketed to children. You don't know what real strength is. You've never had to earn it." "Shut up. You fight like prey, using every advantage to avoid actual combat." Yujiro finally looked back at Homelander. "You're not an apex predator. You're a mascot with power you didn't work for." Homelander's eyes flared bright red. "I said, shut up." He launched forward. No flight this time. Ground-based charge, superhuman speed driving enhanced mass. He swung a haymaker designed to remove Yujiro's head from his shoulders. Yujiro caught the fist. Both hands wrapped around Homelander's knuckles. Stopped the punch cold. The impact shockwave cracked the floor beneath them. Dust exploded outward. Homelander's eyes went wide. His punch carried enough force to flip cars, demolish walls, end fights against anything human. It had stopped. Yujiro held the fist in place. Muscles in his back began to shift. Fibers reorganizing, bunching, forming patterns that looked almost like writing. The change was visible, organic, terrifying. The demon back emerged. Homelander tried to pull his hand free. Couldn't. Yujiro's grip was absolute. He threw his other fist. Yujiro blocked with his forearm. The collision sounded like steel on steel, both of them standing in the crater, neither giving ground. "Better?" Yujiro said. His voice had deepened slightly. "Now you're fighting." He released Homelander's fist and struck, palm to the chest. The blow lifted Homelander off his feet and sent him skidding backward 15 feet. The invulnerable skin didn't break, but the force transferred. Homelander felt it, felt impact, felt pressure against organs designed to be untouchable. He looked down at his chest, at the spot where the hand had connected. No damage, no mark, but the sensation remained. Pain's distant cousin, discomfort, the thing he'd never experienced in combat. "You hit me," Homelander said, voice quiet, processing. "Yes. That's not possible. I'm invulnerable, I know." Yujiro moved forward, steady, inevitable. But invulnerable doesn't mean immune to force. It means your skin doesn't break. Your bones don't shatter. But impact still happens. Energy still transfers. You've just never fought anyone strong enough to make you feel it. Homelander's face twisted. The mask cracked completely. The smile America loved was gone. The commanding presence was gone. What remained was rage. Pure, childlike, entitled. "I am the strongest." He flew at Yujiro again. "I am the hero. You're nothing. You're nobody." They collided. Fist against fist, elbow against block, knee against counter. The exchange was brutal, primal. Homelander threw power without technique. Yujiro used technique to maximize power. Each impact cracked through the arena. Cameras struggled to track the movement. The crowd had stopped trying to process, just watched as their god fought someone who treated him like an equal. Like prey. Homelander grabbed Yujiro's shoulder and tried to throw him. Yujiro shifted his weight, used the momentum against Homelander, and suddenly it was Homelander being driven into the ground. The floor shattered. Homelander's invulnerable body carved a trench through concrete and steel. He rolled out of the impact crater, suit torn at the shoulder. First damage it had ever taken. The cape was shredded, hair disheveled. The perfect image was disintegrating. "This is wrong," Homelander said, speaking to himself, to the cameras, to reality that wasn't cooperating. "This doesn't happen. I don't get hurt. I don't lose. I'm Homelander. Yujiro appeared in his peripheral vision. Homelander spun and fired heat vision point blank. The beams caught Yujiro across the ribs, burned through skin, drew blood. First damage Yujiro had taken. Homelander saw it and laughed. The sound was unhinged. See you bleed. You're weak, Yujiro grabbed Homelander's face with one hand, fingers digging into the invulnerable skin, applying pressure that made the bones beneath creak. Homelander's heat vision cut off as his eyes went wide with something he'd never felt before. Fear. "Pain is information," Yujiro said. "Calm, educational. You've never learned to process it. So when you finally feel it, you break." He hurled Homelander across the arena. The throw carried enough force to send the superhero tumbling end over end, like a rag doll. Homelander crashed into the far wall. The reinforced structure buckled. He pulled himself out of the wreckage. Blood ran from his nose. His nose. He touched it with shaking fingers, stared at the red on his hand. Impossible. Nothing made him bleed. Nothing touched him. Nothing hurt him. But Yujiro did. Homelander looked up, saw Yujiro walking toward him through dust and debris, saw the demon back muscles shifting under skin, saw something that every instinct in his enhanced biology screamed at him to avoid. Apex predator. "No," Homelander whispered. Then louder, "No, no." He launched himself at Yujiro with everything he had. No strategy, no tactics, just violence fueled by panic and rage. He screamed while throwing punches, screamed while firing heat vision, screamed because the pedestal was crumbling and he couldn't stop it. Yujiro met him head-on, deflected attacks, struck openings, read every desperate move before it finished executing. They tore through the arena floor, shattered support columns, created destruction measured in millions of dollars. But only one of them was in control. Yujiro caught both of Homelander's wrists, held him in place. They stood nose to nose. Homelander's breath coming in gasps, eyes wide, face twisted with emotions he'd never had to manage before. "You were never the strongest," Yujiro said quietly. Only Homelander could hear it. "You were just the most powerful person in a world that didn't know better." He released one wrist and drove a palm strike into Homelander's solar plexus. The blow didn't break skin, but it emptied Homelander's lungs, disrupted his breathing, made his enhanced body remember it was still a body, still subject to biology, still mortal. Homelander collapsed to his knees, gasping, defeated not by damage, but by the revelation that damage was possible. The arena had gone completely silent. 70,000 people holding their breath. 100 million viewers watching through screens, all of them witnessing the same thing. Their god kneeling before a man who had never needed Compound 5 to be dangerous. Yujiro looked up at the cameras, at the VIP boxes where executives and shareholders watched their investment collapse in real time, at Vought's symbols and logos plastered across every surface. "This world is weak," he said, "because you built heroes from serums instead of letting strength emerge naturally. You made them fragile, dependent, hollow." He turned and walked away from Homelander. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. The fight was over, not because Homelander couldn't continue, but because Yujiro had proven his point. Behind him, Homelander knelt in the rubble, blood on his face, suit torn, cape destroyed. The image that Vought had crafted, that America had believed in, that the world had bought merchandise of shattered. And somewhere above in the VIP boxes, Ashley stared at her tablet, at numbers that didn't make sense. Viewership at all-time highs, engagement breaking every record, social media erupting across platforms, but the stock price was plummeting. Because people had seen the truth. Homelander wasn't invincible. The Seven weren't legends. They were products. And products could break. The executive beside her made a call, spoke quietly into his phone, activated the final option, the one they'd prepared for worst-case scenarios. In a secure facility 3 miles from Vought Tower, containment protocol was disengaged. Vault doors opened. And something that had been frozen for years began to wake. Soldier Boy. The crowd started murmuring, sensing something changing, seeing movement on the screens. Footage cutting to a military transport approaching the arena. Yujiro stopped walking, turned toward the entrance. Nostrils flared slightly, testing the air. Then he smiled, a real smile this time, not the recognition of prey, the anticipation of an actual challenge. "Finally," he said. The transport landed on the arena floor with hydraulics hissing. Military grade. No VOT branding. No corporate polish. Just steel and function. The rear door opened. Soldier Boy stepped out. He looked exactly like what he was. A weapon built in an earlier era. Before marketing departments refined superhero aesthetics. Before focus groups optimized costumes. His suit was military olive with worn leather. The shield on his back bore scars from decades of combat. His face carried lines that cosmetic procedures couldn't erase. He'd been frozen for years, locked away after incidents that VOT couldn't spin, after explosions that killed civilians and leveled city blocks, after he became too dangerous to control and too valuable to destroy. Now they'd thawed him out, pointed him at the problem that had broken their empire. Soldier Boy surveyed the ruined arena, saw Homelander kneeling in rubble, saw debris and destruction, saw Yujiro standing calm in the center of chaos. "They told me you needed killing," Soldier Boy said, voice rough, textured by time and damage. "Told me you embarrassed the company, made heroes look weak." Yujiro turned to face him fully. "And you agreed. I agreed to a fight." Soldier Boy rolled his shoulders, joints cracking. "Been frozen a long time. Need to work the stiffness out." Behind him, the transport lifted off. Pilots evacuating before the situation deteriorated further. Smart. The arena had already become a war zone. What came next would be worse. Homelander pushed himself to his feet, blood still on his face, suit torn. But the humiliation had transformed into something uglier, rage with nowhere else to go. He looked at Soldier Boy, at the older hero, the original model. "You're here to help me." Homelander's voice cracked slightly. "I don't need help. Shut up." Soldier Boy didn't look at him, kept his focus on Yujiro. "You're compromised, emotional. You've already lost. I'm here to finish what you couldn't. I didn't lose, You're bleeding." Soldier Boy finally glanced at Homelander. "You're on your knees. Your suit is destroyed. That's called losing." Homelander's jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists. But he didn't argue, because Soldier Boy was right. The cameras had captured everything. The world had watched him break. "Both of you, then," Homelander said, voice low, bitter. "We'll end this together." Soldier Boy nodded once. "Fine. Try not to embarrass us more than you already have." They spread out, professional flanking. Soldier Boy left, Homelander right, creating angles, forcing Yujiro to divide attention. Tactical coordination that the Seven had never needed before because Homelander always handled threats alone. Yujiro's smile widened slightly. "Better?" Homelander attacked first, impatient, desperate to redeem himself. He launched forward with heat vision firing. Soldier Boy moved, simultaneously closing from the opposite angle, shield raised. His enhanced durability different from Homelander's. Less absolute. More layered. Built to survive explosions rather than ignore physics. Yujiro dropped low under the heat beams. Soldier Boy's shield swept toward his head. He caught the edge with one hand, redirected it. The shield's momentum carried Soldier Boy off balance. Yujiro's other hand struck Soldier Boy's ribs. The blow made the older Soup grunt. Homelander grabbed Yujiro from behind, wrapped arms around him in a bear hug meant to crush organs. Superhuman strength compressed from all sides. Yujiro drove his head backward. Skull met Homelander's nose. The invulnerable skin didn't break, but the cartilage beneath compressed. Homelander's grip loosened. Yujiro twisted free and delivered a palm strike to Homelander's sternum that sent him sliding backward. Soldier Boy was already recovering, shield swinging in tight arcs, more controlled than Homelander, more experienced. He'd been fighting since World War II, knew how to operate without invulnerability. New pain, new limits. They engaged. Three-way collision of enhanced biology and honed skill. The coordination improved. Soldier Boy forced Yujiro to commit to blocks. Homelander attacked the openings. When Yujiro shifted to counter, Homelander's Soldier Boy pressed advantage. For 90 seconds it worked. They were landing hits, creating pressure, making Yujiro work. Then Yujiro adjusted. He stopped treating them as separate threats, started reading them as a system, predicted Soldier Boy's timing, used Homelander's aggression. When Soldier Boy attacked high, Yujiro moved Homelander into the path. When Homelander fired heat vision, Yujiro positioned himself so Soldier Boy had to dodge his own ally's attack. The coordination broke down. They started interfering with each other. Soldier Boy cursed. Homelander screamed in frustration. Yujiro exploited every gap their deteriorating teamwork created. He caught Soldier Boy's shield mid-swing, held it. The old soldier tried to pull it free. Couldn't. Yujiro drove a knee into Soldier Boy's gut. The enhanced durability absorbed most of it. But most wasn't all. Soldier Boy felt the impact. Homelander tackled Yujiro from the side. They crashed through a support column. Concrete dust exploded, rebar twisted. Somewhere above the arena, structure groaned. They rolled apart. Homelander breathing hard. Yujiro standing smooth. The demon back muscles shifted under his skin, reorganizing, adapting, getting stronger the longer the fight lasted. Soldier Boy stood 20 feet away, breathing controlled, analyzing. He'd fought for decades, survived battles that killed entire squads. He recognized what he was seeing. They were losing. "Homelander," Soldier Boy said. "Get clear." "What?" "Get clear now." Homelander saw something in Soldier Boy's expression, something that made even him step back. The older Soup's chest began to glow, faint at first, then brighter, energy building inside him. Not heat vision, something deeper, more fundamental. Radiation. Soldier Boy's unique ability, the thing that made him too dangerous to deploy, when threatened, when pushed too far, when he lost control. His body converted stress into energy, released it in explosive bursts that scorched everything nearby. The glow intensified, orange light seeping through his suit. The air around him shimmered with heat. Yujiro didn't run, didn't back away, just watched with interest. "This is your weapon?" Yujiro asked. "Release energy you can't fully control. It's worked before." "Against what humans' normal Soups?" Yujiro's tone was almost curious. "I'm not built from Compound V. Your blast won't strip my power. It's just force, heat, radiation. I can survive that." Soldier Boy's chest blazed like a small sun. "Let's find out." The blast erupted. Concentric waves of energy exploded outward. The arena floor vaporized. Metal twisted. Concrete turned to ash. Light whited out every camera. The shockwave hit spectator sections and sent debris flying. Emergency systems triggered. Alarms screamed. The explosion consumed a 100-foot radius. When the light faded, Soldier Boy stood in a crater, breathing heavy, chest dimming, the exertion visible. That blast took everything, left him depleted. Dust settled. Yujiro walked out of the destruction, burns across his torso, skin blistered, blood running from cuts where the force had been too much to fully dissipate. First serious damage he'd taken. But he was walking, standing, still functional. Soldier Boy stared. That should have killed you. It hurt, Yujiro admitted. More than anything in years. I appreciate that. He looked down at his injuries, at flesh already starting to heal. But pain isn't defeat. It's just information. Homelander rose from where he'd taken cover, looked at Soldier Boy. At the exhausted weapon who'd used his ultimate ability. At Yujiro, damaged but advancing. No. Homelander whispered. Then louder. No. This isn't possible. We're soups. Yujiro moved. Crossed the distance between them in seconds. Grabbed Homelander by the throat with one hand. Soldier Boy by his chest plate with the other. Lifted both of them off the ground simultaneously. Your products, Yujiro said. Calm, educational. Built by scientists who thought they could manufacture dominance. But you can't manufacture the hunger that drives real strength. You can't inject the experience of surviving when survival isn't guaranteed. You were given power. I took mine from a world that tried to kill me. He hurled them in opposite directions. Homelander crashed into the VIP boxes. Glass shattered. Steel buckled. Soldier Boy hit the far wall hard enough to crack the reinforced structure. The arena groaned. Support columns compromised. Weight distribution failing. Chunks of ceiling began to fall. Yujiro looked up, evaluated, then walked toward the exit. Behind him, Homelander pulled himself from wreckage. Soldier Boy struggled to stand. Both damaged, both diminished. The symbols of Vought's power reduced to injured men in torn costumes. The arena collapsed in sections. Tons of steel and concrete coming down. Spectators had evacuated during the chaos. Emergency protocols clearing the building. Only the fighters remained in the disintegrating structure. Yujiro walked through falling debris without rushing, sidestepped when necessary, let smaller pieces bounce off his shoulders, exited into the night air as the arena finished destroying itself behind him. Outside, emergency vehicles surrounded the perimeter. Police. Fire response. Medical teams. News helicopters circling. Every camera in the city pointed at the disaster. Yujiro stopped at the edge of the street, looked back at Vought Tower in the distance, at the corporate symbol illuminated against the skyline, at the empire built on manufactured heroes and controlled narratives. The tower's lights flickered. Stock prices still falling, social media still exploding, the world watching their gods bleed. Billy Butcher stood in the crowd behind police barriers, Huey beside him, both watching Yujiro. Everyone else focused on the collapsed arena, the rescue operations, the chaos. But Butcher watched the man who'd destroyed the Seven in one night. Should we approach him? Huey asked quietly. Butcher shook his head. He's not someone you approach. He's something you survive being near. But he just did what we've been trying to do for years. Proved soups aren't gods. He proved their products, but he also proved something worse. Butcher's expression was grim. That there's something out there more dangerous than soups. Something we can't predict, can't control, can't even understand. Yujiro began walking. No destination, no hurry, just moving because standing still held no interest. People parted automatically, instinct pushing them aside. Some didn't even realize they'd moved until he passed. He disappeared into the city, into streets and shadows, back to wherever he'd come from. A force of nature that had swept through, destroyed what needed destroying, and departed without ceremony. Behind him, Vought International began its death spiral. Stock crashed. Board members resigned. Investigations launched. The infrastructure that had supported the superhero industry for decades starting to crack. Homelander and Soldier Boy were pulled from the rubble, alive, injured, humiliated. Cameras caught them being loaded into medical transports. No longer gods, just men who'd lost. The footage would circulate forever. The night Vought fell. The night the Seven broke. The night the world learned that power could be beaten. That heroes were manufactured. That something existed beyond their understanding of strong. In a hospital across town, Ashley stared at her phone. At messages from lawyers, from board members, from media consultants trying to salvage the unsalvageable. Her tablet showed financial projections. Vaught's value dropping in real time. Billions evaporating. The company wouldn't survive this. The brand was dead. The heroes were exposed. The empire had fallen. She closed her eyes, tried to remember when it started, when they'd made the decision to contact the ogre, when Stan Edgar had decided that destruction was preferable to irrelevance. They'd wanted content. They'd wanted proof. They'd wanted something real to replace the manufactured narrative. They got it, and it destroyed them. Somewhere in the city, Yujiro stopped at an all-night diner, sat at the counter, ordered food with the same economy of motion he'd used to dismantle superheroes. The burns on his torso were already fading, healing accelerated by biology that had survived worse. The waitress brought coffee, didn't recognize him, didn't know who he was, didn't understand that she was serving the man who'd just rewritten American mythology. Yujiro drank the coffee, ate the food, left cash on the counter, walked back into the night. The world continued. Emergency crews worked the arena. Hospitals treated the injured. News cycles analyzed the disaster. Social media argued about what it meant. But Yujiro was already gone. Not fleeing, not hiding. Just uninterested. He'd come for a fight, found one, proven his point. The world's strongest man had been marketing. Real strength was biological, natural, earned through survival rather than injection. The lesson was delivered, the demonstration complete. Now he returned to wherever predators go when prey runs out, when challenges become exercises, when dominance is so absolute that nothing remains worth dominating. The boys would hunt soups. Vought would collapse. Homelander would recover physically, but never psychologically. The world would rebuild its understanding of power. None of it mattered to Yujiro Hanma. He was already hunting the next thing worth fighting. And Earth had just proven it wasn't it.